Severe thunderstorms possible on Sunday. Hey, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks. Here is your deep dive for Saturday night, August the 8th. It's about 9:45 here in the evening. So let's do a deep dive. First things first, this is from the Storm Prediction Center, outlooking extreme southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois under a slight risk or a level 2 risk for severe thunderstorms on Sunday. Now, it's important to point out that this is primarily for the evening batch that this is in effect for. As you'll see in a minute, we are expecting 2 rounds of thunderstorms, a squall line coming in around midday, and depending on how that shakes up our atmosphere, we'll then see another batch, but that could be south of us on Sunday evening. So let's go back to this here. First things first, I'll show you the tornado probability. This is again by the Storm Prediction Center, showing really in that slight risk area, low probability for a tornado, a little bit greater for wind, and not as much for hail. Now, I also want to jump into Monday real quick, as there is another slight risk, but just south of the border, with Milwaukee being under a marginal risk for severe weather. It looks like a stationary front is going to stall out down to our south on Monday, keeping the strongest of the storm south. But again, a lot's going to have to do with that frontal placement. So let me reposition this for you. This is the late evening data just coming in here. This is one of the high resolution models that we look at, and we'll take you into Sunday morning. And all the models are starting to converge on this now, at least the high resolution models are. So here we are at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 a.m., 11, noon. Now, you see at noon, nasty squall line coming through, and it is showing severe thunderstorms coming out of this. So this is going to be around midday, noon, 1 o'clock, somewhere in that time frame. Strong damaging winds will be the main threat. We may have a spin-up tornado or two as well. That can't be ruled out. So this is, I think, going to be the main activity, and this is going to be midday on Sunday. This comes through, and then the question is, do we clear out at all? If we do, that could stabilize our atmosphere, and then watch what happens. This is 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Look at those severe thunderstorms right on the border. So Waukegan to Kenosha, somewhere in there, and then continuing into the evening. This is now 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, 12. So it largely goes down to the south, but that's going to be needing to be watched very closely as well. So just to reiterate here, I think that squall line midday Sunday is the main deal. But we could see more storms, especially near the border, Sunday night, sometime during the evening. So depending on what happens in that break, if we get one in between. So let's deep dive that a little bit more here for you. I also want to mention, by the way, heavy rain is likely with that midday batch. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a half an inch to an inch of rain if that thing really gets cranking. So some heavy rain with that as well. Let's talk quickly about the Monday time frame here as well, but I want to show you, this is another model that is coming in tonight. And what you're going to see is similarities with that midday squall line. See what I mean? This is 1 p.m. So, and what's interesting here, that's showing, this would be like what we call a bookend vortice up here. So you'd watch for that for rotation as well. So I think damaging winds are the main threat midday, but again, could see an isolated tornado and some hail with that as well. So all hazards on the table with heavy rain. This one, again, we don't see much of a break, kind of like the other model was showing. And then as we get into the evening, see that? Northern Illinois. So this one, but that one cell in southeastern Wisconsin at 8 o'clock, and then it all rolls down to the south. Now we'll take you into Monday, just to show that we could have a couple of rain showers around, but this model in particular is showing the severe weather largely down to our south Monday night. This is going to be around midnight or a little after, early Tuesday morning essentially, where most of the storms stay down to the south, but we'll see if any of those build back a little bit north. Finally, you know I like to show off this product. This is called NATOcast, and it's an AI generated model that is showing promise in the tornado forecasting realm. And you can see that, again, right along the border, it's got that 5% area there, which is a pretty sizable tornado risk. That really outlines, again, with the data, right, that we're seeing. But primarily, this is going to be for the evening portion, right? And I want to caution you here that we can't sleep on that midday portion, because I think that that's actually going to be the stronger one for most of us. The wind component, again, strongest south, and the hail component, actually quite strong signal there in northeast Illinois. So that kind of gives you an idea. I'll kind of summarize it up here. Again, if we get very warm in the morning, should be around 80 by lunchtime, and that should help that line to really generate around midday on Sunday. So I think that is really the main show. And again, the Storm Prediction Center's outlook and what we just showed with NATOcast, that is not necessarily picking up on that round. All right, it's for the later activity that you're seeing the slight risk. So I wouldn't be surprised if we all get added into a slight risk for the midday batch for tomorrow. So again, Sunday midday is the biggest concern, but then we need to watch Sunday evening, especially along the border and points to the south. Monday might see a couple of storms late in the day into the evening, but especially into Illinois, depending on where that stationary front sets up. And again, worth noting, heavy rain possible with that first batch on Sunday, but also the atmosphere in between round one and the potential round two, so Sunday afternoon, any atmospheric strengthening or destabilization could contribute to, number one, additional storms, but also what happens with that stationary boundary. Because if, like the other day, for example, remember we were calling for heavy rain and it didn't happen because the front moved south? That's what I mean. If it wobbles one way or the other, I think that's going to either increase or decrease round two or round three for us. That would be Sunday night and again on Monday night, depending on that frontal placement. So I think more of a certainty right now is the midday line that will come through quick, largely with wind damage. Can't rule out a tornado, can't rule out hail, and certainly can't rule out heavy rain. So stay tuned for updates, but you're up to speed with the latest deep dive. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe for all the latest.